So we told you a few days ago that Donald Trump was planning a big speech on January 6th. Yes, the anniversary of the insurrection. He was gonna give a speech to, I can only assume, try once again to become president after the country rejected him. But it looks like it's not actually gonna happen. He has canceled the speech a day before he was due to give it. And so you're probably wondering why this was gonna be a big thing for him. He was very psyched about it. So why did he not do it? Well, there's a lot of reasons being provided by different people as to why, and that's always the most fun. When you have one reason for like not being able to go to something, you might disagree with it, but it's compelling. When you have like 6, what the hell is going on? Well, let's go through some of these reasons. So some aides are saying they tried to stop him from doing it, not because they knew what he was gonna say was gonna be really bad or inflammatory, but that they had no idea what he was going to say. And more importantly, he had no idea what he was gonna say. Apparently, he was gonna make a scene and mock reporters, but he didn't know what he wanted his message to be. I don't see how that's different than literally any other address he's ever given, but it was compelling to them as a reason to stop him this time. One advisor said it was going to be awful, awful press, adding that the former president had announced the event without a clear plan. Now, I think it would have gotten some awful press for what I think he would have ended up actually saying. He would have denied that January 6th was bad. He would lie and say that Biden didn't legitimately win the election. All of that would have been bad press. They think it was gonna be a bad press just because it was going to be rambling and random. But anyway, it was supposed to happen tomorrow. It was gonna be counter programming for some other things that are going on. JR, do you find that to be convincing? Would he cancel a big speech like that just because he didn't have a good like outline of the points he was gonna hit?
Everything here makes sense for them trying to cancel or get him to cancel, except for him agreeing to cancel it. That's the only thing that kind of throws me off here, because as you said, every address that President Trump probably gave during his 4 years was unplanned and had no real purpose outside of, again, making fun of the press and causing a scene. Those are 2 things that he definitely plans to make sure that he had well put together, which I'm sure he had all that down. Then maybe some advisors, people close to him, maybe a friend, maybe family was like, hey, so it's gonna be on January 6th. And what is it you exactly wanna do? You wanna look bad or do you wanna look good? And he probably went through the whole thing of trying to convince him to not do it. And he probably still held on until, I don't know what could have been to help to convince him to pull the plug. That is really the most surprising part. I don't know what they could have told him, because this is his MO. This is how he operates. Maybe it was the promise of, go and do it at a rally later, and then you can talk about your big crowd size. Maybe that's the only thing that can convince him to move this, is that it could feed his ego in another way somehow.
Yeah, well, so what you just alluded to, doing it to a big crowd, which I guess they would have had some sort of crowd, but I imagine there would be some difficulties in getting permitting for Donald Trump to address a big crowd in person, like on that day. Anyway, he is going to do an Arizona rally. So Maggie Haberman says that he's going to discuss what he was going to say at an Arizona rally instead, which I think is preferable, it not being for 2 reasons. 1, it's not on the anniversary, which is good. And 2, it's a much longer march from Arizona to the Capitol. But she also provided, according to several advisors who, by the way, this guy is no longer president. And so a lot has changed in his life. But one thing that hasn't changed is every single person around him immediately runs from conversations with him to the closest member of the media. They leak everything, but they say that it was becoming clear he wasn't likely to get the live TV coverage he was hoping for, which to me, that's a more plausible explanation as to why he would cancel that. Like him not having a plan, whatever, he'll just make fun of, I don't know, like CNN or something. I think he's fine with that. I think if he thinks nobody was going to cover it live, which by the way, we on the show yesterday were reading the advice of several people, including Media Matters, trying to pressure the media not to cover it live. And I don't know if I were to bet which ones would, if any, but I feel like there would have been a lot of pressure not to give him live, unfiltered access to their viewers literally on January 6th. So that to me seems potentially like a better explanation.
Yeah, and it seems, again, everyone around him, everyone that supports him, definitely saw this as a bad thing. Like, Donnie, we've been pushing this as not a big deal for a year. You can't come on and start promoting how great these people were, because we're saying they were Democrats, we're saying they're Antifa, we're saying that they were forced to do it by Democrats and Antifa, we're saying that it was them, but they're good patriots. We're trying to put so many good spins on this that make absolutely no sense. We need you to just chill out and not give us a different kind of spin that we can't keep up with that particular day. They're okay with him doing it on January 6th. Do not give them any credit for being any kind of way conscious of how horrible that day was and how bad this will look and how it will continue to bury them. All it is this them recognizing that they can't keep up with what it is he was gonna do. They're like, hey, if you tell us what you're gonna say, at least we can come up with some kind of BS plan to carry some more water for you.
Yeah. Well, and Lindsey Graham had a statement that I think is in that area. He apparently went golfing with Trump recently. Remember, he was done with him. He'd moved on. Whatever. We'll get to that quote in a bit. So Trump brought up the address to Graham, and Graham said there could be peril in doing a news conference. Best to focus on election reform instead, which I think is their honest approach. Like, they want the base to be fired up, and the base believing that the election was stolen from Trump is useful to them. That their right loves being a victim, and this is the ultimate victimhood complex. The election was stolen from us. Them believing that and literally attacking election officials probably is not in the direct interest of some people like Lindsey Graham, but focusing on election reform, that is certainly useful. Because whether, like, them passing their election reform laws at the state level are not going to make Donald Trump president in a month. That's just not going to happen. Nobody actually believes that. But it could make it easier for, like, a Lindsey Graham to win re-election, or for them to have a bigger majority in the House or the Senate coming up soon. So that is definitely a more useful thing to focus on from their point of view. But finally, I want to go to Laura Ingraham. Apparently had something to say about this press conference. She is like one of many people apparently behind the scenes that were not pushing for it to happen.
President Trump has decided to do a rally on January 6th. Given all the emotion and the lies about what happened and what did happen criminally, and some things were horrific that happened and shouldn't have happened that day, is it smart for President Trump to do a rally on that particular day versus next week or the week before?
Yeah, or don't do it at all. Like, you don't need to. But anyway, that was better than the vast majority of Fox News's commentary on the 6th. She admitted that it was bad, that some things happened that shouldn't. It was still obviously incredibly cowardly, but she is questioning what Trump is doing and tying it to January 6th. So that's something.
Yeah, it is a thing. The way Fox anchors that were basically an advisory role for President Trump, like Sean Hannity and Laura Ingraham, they have to speak to Donald Trump through the TV because they know he's probably watching, and they can't say it directly because it just sounds a little bit too, or it exposes a little bit too much of their direct connection and their advisory role for him. So they have to do it in question form. It's like they're on Jeopardy or something, right? You have to be like, so let me have a guest on to give Donald Trump the message in a question form to that guest, and hopefully Donald Trump hears me ask this question, and we discuss how he shouldn't do this without me saying, hey, Donald, don't do it. Oh my God, it's a bad idea. How am I gonna cover for you now? So instead it's, okay, Alex, I'll take how not to destroy your legacy even further for 200 or whatever the hell it's for. And be like, oh, and the answer is, so do you think Donald Trump shouldn't screw this entire thing up by having a press conference and lambasting more people on January 6th, 1 year on the anniversary? Do you think so? Yeah. That's the question. And the next question, do you think President Trump should have gone and bowed down in Helsinki to Putin? Like, you gotta ask the question rather than saying, you shouldn't have done these things, you crazy, insane human being. I don't know why you're doing this, but again, you have to do it with some kind of thin veil that no one really buys into.
Yeah, when it's a commentary show and she routinely makes direct comments about what she believes, but in this area can't. Or, if you don't want to do it on the show, text him. You were texting the whole team about how terrified you were on January 6th. Would you lose the phone number in the interim?
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.